Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This guy right next to me, his name is Tim, and this is Second Legacy, and thank you for stopping by. Today, we're going to dive into something. Of course, it broke over the weekend. The whole Israel war thing, that got escalated quickly. But there's been an answer, Tim. The government of Israel has made a move for the gun rights. You guys are going to want to see every second of this. Everything will be linked in the description box below. And of course, make sure you like the video, share the video, and hit that subscribe button. So, Tim,
yes,
it's a long weekend. We had a lot going on. What's up? What's up? Anything worthy of talking about?
No, not really. You're trying to enjoy your weekend, and then more war breaks out in the world, and it's just one of those things. So you kind of get sucked into that news cycle, and I kind of stumbled across something I thought was rather interesting for today's discussion.
That's true. That's true. This content topic brought to you by the Timster, the Timster himself. Well, you know what, Mr. Producer? Let's not leave the people on a knife's edge. It's Monday, so let's hit number one real quick, because as you guys know, there is officially a war going on right now in Israel. So they have taken swift action. Israel loosens gun laws after unprecedented terror attack. So that's from the Reload, but let's see what they did. I mean, does it sound familiar, Tim? I mean, it sounds familiar. What was that thing? It rhymes with shmushmain. What was that thing?
Shmushmain.
Yeah. It was Ukraine. I got it. That's it. It was Ukraine.
What's going on over there? Oh yeah, another war. That's right. Never mind.
Yeah.
It's almost like
it's another regional conflict. Yeah. So you remember that whole thing with the regional conflict where the Russians were at the door, like the wolf at the door, and they were kind of like, I'm a little uncomfortable over in Ukraine. Remember when they did this, Mr. Producer, number two? As the Russian army approached Kiev last February, or Kyiv, as the intelligence say, the government distributed 10,000 rifles to civilians, hoping to stem the tide. The Ukrainian army, bolstered by civilian resistance, eventually pushed Russians away from their capital city. Well, now, Tim, that would imply that an armed populace has a value.
Yeah, it's almost like our founding fathers were kind of, able to see the future, if you will. Everybody's saying, well, they couldn't have possibly have known what was going to go on in 2023. It seems like maybe they had a pretty good idea what could happen, The security of a state, people being armed. I mean, how would that work out? It's like, if you watch some of the videos coming out of Israel, here you have an irregular force that is attacking formal military bases and taking them over. The entire state of Israel was kind of like asleep at the wheel, it looks like, because they have, people have this misconception of Israelis and their gun culture, if you will. I remember years ago, pictures circulating of a school teacher with an M1 carbine slung over her shoulder, and people saying on the forums,
I remember that.
People saying on the forums, we need more gun laws like Israel. Actually, no, we don't want those types of gun laws. I've been to Israel. I went to the only gun store in Tel Aviv and had a conversation with the owner, and he showed me the document they have to fill out. They have to go through this entire rigmarole just to maybe get a gun or two, and they keep reducing the number they can own, and they restrict the types that they can own. So it is just absolutely asinine to think that a state that was created post-World War II, after everything that happened, they would immediately disarm themselves. And they say, well, everybody's in the army, and so therefore everybody's got a gun. Well, that's not how it's worked out, right?
No, not at all. It's so fascinating. Like, to your point, it's just, you have a environment which is not exactly friendly. Let's keep it YouTube central here. It's not exactly friendly to you. They have extremely high gun control from American standards. They're allowed to own one gun, because I looked into this when it was first going down, because naturally that's what you do. They're allowed to have one gun at a time. And Tim, they are so generous. They allow 50 bullets per person. 50. Not 9 like the left.
Keeping the old homeland safe there. Yeah.
Yeah, but with pistols, because rifles ain't it.
Yeah, you can't have rifles. Pistols. That's a no-go.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think there's this element as organization and control across the entire planet has gone downhill for the last 2.5, 3 years. You've got regional conflicts, pretty large scale regional conflicts popping up all over. I mean, like really, Tim, we're like one regional conflict away before it looks real WW2 in this place.
Mhm.
I mean, like legitimately.
And hey, look, folks, our borders are wide open, both the northern and southern borders. Nobody talks about the northern border, but people can just walk right across the border in many places. And there are probably thousands of people that hate America that have come here for nefarious purposes, located all around the country. And what has happened in Israel could conceivably happen here with a sneak attack. And it seems like we too are asleep at the wheel, just like we were at 9/11. We had all the warning signs, and yet we didn't do what we needed to do to stop that attack. And it happened. And so,
Well,
go ahead.
I was going to say, but Israel has loosened the restrictions. That's what we're about to talk about, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Media.
time now. I mean, once you've already been attacked, once you've had counts are up to what 800 people now killed. We don't know how many people taken prisoner.
I think it's over 1,000 now.
Is it over?
I think it's over 1,000 now.
They're saying 9 Americans
last I saw.
were confirmed.
Yeah,
dead.
that's.
And we don't know if they have
that's
American
not good.
hostages. You know, so
Right.
yeah. So
There were
Israel.
early reports that they were. Yeah. So I guess the big point I think that we need to start at is at a certain point, you have to just step back and look. The system of which we have, the Second Amendment, is there for a reason. The reason that it's there is to defend against enemies foreign and domestic. Like there is a reason that it exists. The right to keep and bear arms is not just pie in the sky, I'm amazing and I'm all masculine. I've got toxic masculinity and gun culture. No, it's there because if this exact same thing happened in the United States, you've got a population that is armed, has more bullets than probably like most, Israel completely. And then we could assemble state by state level really quickly with people who know what they're doing. Mm-hmm. That was the entire point. That was the point of the reason the civilian marksmanship program existed, the CMP. That's why they were doing all the things we were doing in our history, but people have simply forgotten. And if you forget, and that's the important key here, you end up doing things like this. Mr. Producer, can you throw up number 3 for me? This is from the Israeli, Tim, you sent me this. This was the Israeli
Minister of Interior Security. Let me see what it was, his formal title. It is the Israeli Minister of National Security.
National Security.
His tweet,
yep.
Yes.
Yep, it's his tweet. So what you're looking at is the original because they read right to left. So, Mr. Producer, if you could be amazing and translate that bad boy for us, this is where it ends up. Now, Tim, you and I were sitting on this. They're loosening the restrictions, but where and how they're loosening them, it doesn't exactly seem like it matches the urgency of, hey, we're at war, does it?
No. I mean, look, they understand the necessity to have an armed populace, but it seems like they're going about this in a very cautious manner when literally their entire country is under attack. Up to 1,000 people dead already. Probably that death toll, unfortunately, is going to go up. And here they are going, well, let's just take baby steps here.
Yeah. I mean, you want to go through it or you want me to run through it?
Yeah, run through it and we'll just kind of comment from point to point.
All right, let's get it. So let's just go in here from point to point. So today, this is, again, the official we just cited. Today, I directed the Firearms Licensing Division to go on an emergency operation in order to allow as many citizens as possible to arm themselves. Again, this is still only pistols. This is not rifles. This is still pistols. The plan will take effect within 24 hours, and here are the main points. 1, any citizen who meets the detailed tests for carrying a private firearm due to self-defense and serving the security forces and is without a criminal or medical record will be required to undergo a telephone interview instead of a physical interview and will be able to receive permission to carry a firearm within a week. Self-defense tests, residents as an ineligible settlement, rifle veterans 07 and above, officers in the rank of lieutenant and above, and combatants in the rank of major and above in the IDF and the security forces, service to special units, firefighters, policemen, and workers and volunteers in the rescue forces. So, I mean, like,
we're talking about a half measure, and we'll get you your gun in a week after a phone interview. It's like, they're outside shooting at me. Well, 1 week, sir, we'll process as quickly as possible.
I mean, like, but we're going to start for 24 hours. It'll be very, very quick, and you'll have a pistol.
Yeah, in a week.
That's not going to do it.
No,
that's just not going to do it. And I mean, like, it's this mentality. We can't. Let me keep going. Let's keep going. So here's number 2. Okay, so because there's 4 points here. Any citizen who received a conditional permit to purchase a firearm, by the way, and did not purchase a firearm during the year 2023 and the conditional license is expired, will be able to purchase a firearm now without the need to submit another application. So about 4,000 people. So if we gave you a permit and permission to purchase a firearm, but you didn't do it, that permission can still apply to buy the gun now, so you don't have to wait longer to do the exact same permitting process.
Yeah.
I mean, like, what?
So come on down. Nobody else apply. Only you 4,000 because that's going to turn the tide of war. You come on down and we'll give you your handgun. Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense. Like, I mean, I'm not saying side A, side B, but if you're looking at a national war that was just declared and the citizenry was the brunt of the force that was applied, doesn't it seem like it might be a little more prudent to give people a little more and a little bit more freedom to defend themselves in a centralized area like that?
You brought up the Ukrainians. When they faced an invasion, they just said, hey, armories are open. Come on down. Right?
Yeah.
There's no phone interviews and 1 week waiting for a handgun. They're like, get down here. Here's an AKM. Let's go fight. Mm-hmm. And then the Israelis get, attacked and they take the tact of, well, we're going to let some people arm themselves now. Like you said, clearly the citizenry were the primary target of this attack, but we're not going to arm them. We're going to be very careful how we go about this. And it can take us up to a week to decide who's going to go ahead and get one of these weapons and who isn't. And, then we got those 4,000 out there that we've already approved. They may not have picked their guns up yet. It's like, wow, guys, can you talk about just a bunch of gobbledygook? This is government in action right here, folks.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
This is just unbelievably bad. They just need to do the exact same thing that the Ukrainians did, is like come on down to a local National Guard armory or however they have it set up in Israel and let people pick up weapons to defend their country and themselves.
Right. I mean, like that. Could you imagine? I mean, and this is where it's so fascinating to me. And we're going to get to the funny part about this order here in a second at point number 4. But this is what's so interesting to me about this entire detail. So if you compare and contrast those exact same groups, they're Ukraine and Israel. So they both have experienced an attack. They both have been on the receiving end, and they've both had to fight backwards towards something. Again, you pick your side. I don't care about this in this point. But what I'm saying is they've all come to the realization that you need more people armed to defend liberty or freedom, or at least your point of view or your perspective. That's at a high level. That's the outcome, right? And I just find it so fascinating that in Ukraine, there's not tunnels popping up everywhere. There's not border walls over here, and they're not completely surrounded by Russia. Like they're not like an island like Israel would be. And I mean, it's so fascinating to me that the people who are not surrounded, who see the threat, just dump AKs in the street for the civilians. But the people who are surrounded, who have tunnels under them, who have mortars onto them, who have
enemies on all sides,
enemies on all sides, they go, we've relaxed the permitting process, and it'll now take a week, and you have to get a phone interview now, not a physical in person. Like, bro, like the Ukrainians are like, get down here, you have pulse, come grab AK. I don't know why they're Arnold Schwarzenegger. I don't know why that came out like that, but you get the point. You get the point. It's the same general area. Yeah. But I don't know. I just find that interesting. I find that fascinating.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and hit number 3 here because there's two more.
I was kind of expecting a little bit more of a bounce back on that one, but okay, let's keep going.
I can make fun of the Arnold impersonation, but let's just.
Oh, you're God. Let's go to number 3 and just rude. Let's go. So here's number 3, as requested. Any citizen who deposited his weapon in the last 6 months due to failure to perform refresher training or renewal training will be able to receive his weapons back. The exemption will apply to about 1,800 citizens. So if you're looking at this and you're reading through this, Tim, you've got permits to purchase, you have interview requirements, you have background checks, health screenings, you can get your gun revoked, you have to deposit it at a specific government location because you didn't get refresher training or renewal training. This is leftist wet dream gun control.
Yes.
That's what this is.
And look how they're trying to dance around to give some of those weapons back. But I'm sure immediately after the war is over, they're going to want them all right back too.
Oh, absolutely. So, absolutely.
And here we have, I think they're up to 5,800 in their new defense force. We have the 4,000 that didn't pick up their guns. And we have another 1,800 here that had to turn them in because they didn't get their refresher courses. I mean, talk about splitting hairs in the time of war. Good grief.
Yeah. That's exactly right.
Bad.
But it's okay, Tim. Because that's not even the big punch here. Here comes the big punch. Get ready, because they've made a 100% increase in the availability of arms to the population. Check this out. In addition, starting next Tuesday, conditional permit. Next Tuesday, conditional permits to carry firearms will be issued with a permit allowing the purchase of up to 100 bullets instead of 50, Tim. 100.
Wow.
That's a lot of defense. That's a lot of
That's
defense.
a lot of defense. You know,
that is.
Once you pick up your new gun, you're going to have to use, at least 25 of those to sight the thing in and get a little bit familiar with it. And that leaves you with 75 rounds to fight a war.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Why are they doing it wrong?
Why do they even do this half measure? I mean, what is the point of this?
Just do it. If you're going to do it, just do it. I mean, like, it's so fascinating, man. Here in the United States, again, that contrast. Could you imagine that if a force materialized, whether it be at the southern border, whether it be in Florida, whether it be a bunch of Canadians riding moose, whatever they're doing, you know how fast that would be met with immediate civilian resistance? I mean, like, I don't even know if the military would have time to respond.
No.
I mean,
the military would be coming in to relieve the civilians that had organized themselves into militias to defend themselves, which is why we're supposed to be able to do that. The Japanese during World War II didn't even conceive or even think of invading our mainland because they literally said there will be a rifle behind every blade of grass. They knew that it was complete suicide to invade the mainland of the United States because of our armed population. The fact that we 100%. Can and will fight back.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point of this thing. Yes.
It's a mentality. But when people say, and this just boggles my mind because, we've talked about it a lot on this channel, the squirrel-like mentality of the news cycle is like, ooh, they just bounce around constantly, never keeping a continuity of thought from the thing they talked about last week. And like, if you compare and contrast, again, Ukraine, Israel, and then America, and you take all of those together, Ukraine, they're all out there pounding the drum for the fact that, well, we got to defend, democracy in that part of the world, and Russia's evil and they're going after them. And that's a big point of this, and democracy. You go over to Israel, they're like, I don't really know why we like them. So it's the media. I don't know why we're being so cavalier. I mean, yeah, they're the democracy in the Middle East, but I'm like, this doesn't even make sense. Like, did Trump talk again? Oh, he just destroyed democracy again.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Right.
I don't, dude. The contrast is so maddening, and the hypocritical nature of this whole cycle is just insane, man.
I mean, look, we're not making light of what happened in Israel, but
hell no.
Just looking at this typical government response to a very real need of the people. The people need to be able to defend themselves. The people are the ones being attacked right now. There's all sorts of horrible videos circulating of people being shot down at bus stops, and homes being invaded, and children being executed in front of parents. I mean, these horrible acts of terror and violence. It is time to let your people arm themselves, not just let them, help them arm themselves. Because this is how you're talking about a nation that's at its most narrow point, like 90 miles across. I mean, it's a tiny nation. That you would think that they would see the value in a militia. We're a massive nation, isolated by oceans on both sides. And people say, well, we don't need a Second Amendment because of that. Well, the world's a much smaller place today. But
absolutely.
But you would think somebody that faces that type of danger, a country that has been attacked by surprise attacks multiple times in its short history, by all of its surrounding neighbors, you would think they above all would understand the value of a Second Amendment and an armed populace.
You would that was very well said. And the other thing that I'll just tack on top of that is the impossible is always impossible until it's possible and it happens.
Right.
They understand that. That's a key point to get here. The Second Amendment is a built-in deterrent when the impossible happens. Because every single time that these things happen, it's like, oh man, you don't need a firearm. You don't need a Second Amendment. This is a civilized age. It's 2023. There's no reason for any of that. Russia invades Ukraine.
Right.
Well, that was an outlier. Putin's evil. Hamas just invaded Israel.
Yeah.
They deserved it. What?
Yeah.
Like, how many? I mean, dude, it's such a base level principle understanding that you need to be able to defend yourself as a nation and as an individual, that the whole safety argument, because we're civilized, we aren't civilized. There's a thin veneer of comfort covering all of our discrepancies.
Yep.
That's all we're talking about. It's just, I don't know. You ignore the nature.
The world's a violent place. And, when it's kind of like what happened to Rome, it's happening to us. You become so powerful that nobody can really threaten you. So you think, And so you get lulled into this mindset of, well, we're going to focus on philosophy and all this other stuff now. We don't really have to worry about a big military, and we're invincible. And then you get overrun by barbarians in the case of Rome. Well, now you had an informal, funded by Iran, but a non-state actor, a terrorist organization, and an irregular force just attacked a proper military and just did unspeakable damage. I think you might want to take a look at the world around you and quit thinking that you live in some bubble of safety. You do not. You do not.
You know what you just sparked in my mind?
What's that?
You remember Biden? How Biden has been like, oh yeah, good luck doing anything with just small arms like rifles. Bruh.
Right.
Did you just see what just happened in Israel?
Because
those guys were on motorcycles and rifles, and they had Tacomas. It wasn't super advanced. I mean, they do not have a single air asset. They don't have a fighter jet. They don't have an attack helicopter. They don't have anything. They have rifles. They just took on a state that has all the above and then some. And nukes. But it's impossible, Tim.
Right.
It's impossible because that's why you need safety. And the Second Amendment is an archaic idea. And you're a barbarian, clearly.
Yes.
Clearly.
Well.
And you also didn't follow up on my Arnold impersonation, which makes you more of a barbarian.
I know. I'm a bad co-host. But anyway, folks, we do hope that things, settle down in Israel and they can put an end to this conflict very quickly. Again, we're not making light of the situation in Israel, but we thought this was an interesting response by the government. And that's what we're kind of making light of here is the inefficiencies of government and the fact that a government during a time of war would still be concerned about who they give a gun to and doing phone interviews even. So that was just why we pointed all this stuff out in today's video. So anyway, if you guys would like to support us here, the best way to do that is just to become a member. Just join us up. Hit that little subscribe button. It's how you help us spread the word of the Second Legacy. Thank you for watching, and we'll talk to you guys soon.